Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Dr. Rajneesh Ranjan, disaster management expert and VP from Meteorological. Today I am going to elaborate a module on urban flooding which comes under the paper disaster management. First of all, let's discuss what could be your learning outcome of this module. While going through this module, you will be able to comprehend urban flooding, its nature, causes and impacts, to understand the risk of urban flooding in India, to understand the process of urban flood management and the urban flood management framework existing in India. The rationale of this chapter is that this chapter provides an overview of urban flooding and elaborates on the nature, causes and impacts of urban floods, utilizing different case studies from India. It reflects on the multifarious aspects of urban flooding. The chapter also provides an overview of the existing urban flood management mechanism, the processes involved and the direction it is headed. Let's now begin with the introduction. Urban flooding may be defined as an unusual accumulation of water in an urban area above the ground or areas utilized for anthropogenic or man-made activities. It may be caused by overflowing rivers, high tides, heavy rainfall, melting of snows, rapid runoff from paved areas, bridged water structures created for storage, flow or drainage of water or to prevent water from entering certain areas. Now a question arises, how urban flooding is different from the riverine flooding? Urban flooding has root causes, characteristics and impacts differing from normal riverine flooding events in the sense that it is created mainly due to the impact of urbanization and other associated localized phenomena. Urban flooding is characterized by localized inundation and waterlogging. The urban flooding creates inconvenience and sometimes they are threatening too. This also causes significant economic loss as urban areas are the hub of economic activities, social chaos and environmental damage. It also causes severe disruption in the delivery of services and damages to the critical infrastructure. Mostly the flooding events in urban areas are of short duration, lasting from few hours to several days. Due to the significant role played by man-made factors associated in urban flooding, they are difficult to predict. Primarily, changes in the natural drainage network, distortion of the catchment areas, land cover, deforestation, condition of built environment, poor condition of drainage system, sewerage system and solid waste disposal networks and anthropogenic activities cause urban flooding. The man-made changes in urban areas increase the flood peaks from 1.8 to 8 times and flood volumes by up to 6 times as taken from National Disaster Management Guidelines 2010. The flood effects are pronounced and faster. Let's talk about the causes of urban flooding. While talking about the physical and social components, the weather system is very important. India receives maximum rainfall from the southwestern monsoon for a period of 4 months from June to September. The southern region of Tamil Nadu and Kerala receives rainfall in post-monsoon and winter period from northeastern monsoon. Though the rainfall pattern and duration is somewhat similar in almost all cities, the amount varies widely. Sudden peaks in the rainfall or sustained rainfall over a longer duration of time often results in the increased water accumulation. A storm or cyclonic storms or localized storms associated with heavy rainfall also causes inundation. In addition, snowfall, snow melt also plays important roles. Sudden rise in water flow due to increased snowfall or snow melting in the upper regions. Storm surge and tidal inundations are also one of the factors. It's a phenomenon of rising water caused by low pressure weather events. Tidal variations also results in the inundation of nearby areas. There are hydrological system, topographical features also having importance. Many of the urban areas have been developed along the flat plains due to having fertility for farming activities. But even sometimes many of them have been developed in the flat plain itself. During high discharge, these flat plains are inundated with surplus water. In many cases, urban areas are having vessels-like structures which make it harder for the deposited water to flow out. Many cities are located in the coastal areas which make them prone to coastal flooding, tidal inundation and cyclonic storms. There are hydrological factors also playing important role like soil moisture level, groundwater level and absorption capacity. Other than surface infiltration rate, presence or absence of overflow channels, etc. They also plays important role in causing floods in the urban areas. Sea level rise also plays important role. Cities located primarily in the coastal regions also face higher susceptibility of flooding due to global rise in the sea level. Examples can be cited about Dhaka in Bangladesh, which is facing significant risk of flooding due to rising flood level, sea level. Urban heat island impact is very important factor of urban flooding due to various kinds of man-made activities in urban localities. The surface and atmospheric temperature get higher than the normal. This is due to the high energy consumption, land and surface coverage by materials which have high heat capacities and conductivities than the natural materials. Low vegetation and water absorbing surfaces and less open spaces are also responsible for this. This results in erratic pattern of rainfall and precipitation. Urbanization and population growth is very important causing urban flooding. Anthropogenic events contribute significantly in the rising number of urban flooding in our country. Land cover changes. The key issues arising out of land cover change which induce greater intensity of flood include surface sealing due to tarmacked and paved surfaces, example roads, roofs, built up areas reducing water infiltration and increasing surface water runoff and its speed. Deforestation resulting in the increased soil erosion and higher water runoff. Unplanned construction in catchment areas and floodplains. Rapid urbanization and redevelopment to higher density land use. Loss of open surfaces and ground which can absorb water, lack of water harvesting structures which can help absorb water and results in reduced surface runoff, Loss of aquatic ecosystem are also very important factors. The key issues are alteration of natural drainage routes, decline in the number of water bodies or wetlands, declining groundwater levels, increased intake and outflow of water in the region, but no watershed development for the same, encroachment in river banks, drains and canals. The economically weaker sections of the society, the migrations from rural to urban areas often stay in the river banks or canals which are supposed to function as drainage channels. Illegal construction and encroachment in the natural outlets often restricts the flow of water out of the urban areas. Urban drainage, sewerage and solid waste disposal are some of the key areas of concern, which are as follows. The stormwater drainage network in the past was designed for a rainfall intensity of 12 to 22 mm as depicted in the NDMA guideline of 2010. Often due to siltation and poor maintenance, these networks fail to function properly. Improper solid waste disposal is also very important factor. Indiscriminate disposal of domestic, commercial and industrial waste in drains resulting in the reduced capacity or choking of drainage channels. Disposal of polythene bags in stormwater outlets, open drains, etc. resulted in choking water flow. In addition, religious or social events resulting in the disposal of large quantity of impermeable materials along drainage networks. Very efficient drainage in the upstream areas results in the higher inflow of water in the upper area and low capacity of water in the downstream areas that causes inundation. The growing population also put higher pressure in the existing drainage system. Poor institutional or administrative mechanism is very important factor indeed. To address the concern of urban flooding, coordinated tasks by multiple authorities needs to be carried out. Lack of ownership responsibility by authorities is a major reason. Lack of flood control measures and general awareness is also very important factor dealing with the urban flooding issues. There are other man-made factors like sudden release of water from upstream areas, dam bursts, etc., which results in the urban flooding. Examples can be cited about the Pune-Khadagwasla dam burst on 12th of July 1981. In addition, often urban flooding occurs when two or more of the above factors coexist. Another case studies can be cited about different parts of Kolkata, which got affected in the first week of August 2015, when high tide and heavy rainfall induced by the cyclonic storms coincided. Kolkata is located in the floodplain of the Hooghly River, which is a distributary of the river Ganga. The water outlets in the city drains in the Ganges, the eastern wetlands or through other channels leading out of the city. During 2015 flooding, the Hooghly was experiencing the tidal bore, which filled the capacity of the Hooghly itself, and the drainage of excess water to Hooghly did not function. The capacity of the eastern catchment has also reduced significantly due to the unplanned development and real estate boom near the eastern wetlands, and also salt marshes in the past decades also deteriorated the natural channel. In addition, increased siltation, poor solid waste management approach, mainly plastic packets and other solid wastes, are also creating choking of the natural drainage channels. Maintenance of the pipelines decreased the efficiency of water outlets in the city, and the scenario is further complicated by unauthorized constructions and encroachments near the channels and canals. Free spaces across the city, which acts as a sponge soaking water in case of excess water accumulations, have also been diminished. The waterlogging and subsequent flooding occurred, affecting the city for 2-3 days as a result of these problems. Now let's talk about the categories of urban flooding. Urban flooding can be broadly categorized in the following classes based on the causative elements. Number 1 is the fluvial flooding. They are caused by the river overflowing, breaching or overtopping flood defenses. They occur primarily in urban areas located in the floodplains. Coastal floodings are caused by tidal or storm surge in cities located in coastal areas or in deltas. Pluvial flooding caused by intense or prolonged rainfall exceeding the capacity of the drainage system often affects urban areas which has witnessed rapid unplanned expansion. Another type is flash flooding, which is caused by rapid response of ephemeral streams to heavy rainfall. Other causes like structural failures of dams, sudden release of water from dams, increased snow melts, etc. also plays important role in the urban flooding in the low-lying areas. While talking about the economic loss, the impacts of the urban flooding, number 1 is the economic loss. The urban areas are considered as hub of the economic and allied activities. As a result of flooding in the urban areas, the following losses may occur: damage to public buildings, public utility works, housing and household assets, loss of industry and trade, daily earning of wage earners, loss of revenue from roadways, railways and other service providers. The corporate sectors also face great losses due to urban flooding, due to several days of their closure of establishment and businesses. Economic loss of the state in reconstruction activities. For instance, Aeon Benfield report estimated the economic loss of Chennai floods that occurred in 2015 at $3 billion and considered the flood as one of the 8 most expensive natural disasters in the world. The complex issues are also very significant that needs to be discussed. High level of vulnerability, as a significant number of people reside in hazard prone areas and have negligible social protections. Additionally, the density of people in urban areas increase the complexity multiple times. Secondary hazards are also very important. Risk of secondary hazards like epidemics, tree falls, etc. also creates disasters within disasters. The impact: damage to the urban ecology and significant impact on parks, zoos, open areas, etc. Public inconvenience. While talking about the public inconvenience, Some of the important factors are waterlogging, foul stench, traffic congestion for several days resulting from collapsed trees, bridges, etc. that causes public inconvenience in a great manner in urban areas. The trends of urban flooding in India has increased significantly over the past few decades. Majority of the Indian cities have become hazard prone due to their localized location in the floodplain or coastal areas. Almost every Indian metro cities and cities where developmental onslaught is in the process have been affected by floods in the recent past. Examples can be cited of Hyderabad 2000, Ahmedabad 2001, Delhi 2002 and 2003, Chennai 2004, Mumbai 2005, Surat 2006, Kolkata 2007, Jamshedpur 2008, again Delhi in 2009 and Guwahati and Delhi in 2010. Lately, the Chennai floods of 2015, a decade after the Mumbai floods, serves as a harsh reminder of the deplorable situation in urban flood management. When we talk about the current status of urban flooding scenario in our country, a recent report by the World Bank and OECD ranked 10 coastal cities across the world based on expected overall cost of damage in coming years due to urban flooding. Mumbai ranked 4th in the list when measured in terms of percentage of GDP loss. Mumbai comes at 7th position. Another study published in the Natural Hazards Journal conducted by scientists from UK and Netherlands measures vulnerability of flood covering 19 indicators which include parameters like weather pattern, environmental elements, preparedness mechanisms in place, resilience of the people, etc. Of the 9 cities of India analyzed, Kolkata falls midway in the list and its vulnerability is attributed to huge population and high degree of exposure to storm. According to an online data analyzer of flood risk aqueduct, flood analyzer developed by 4 Dutch research agencies and WRI India tops the list of countries considering the number of people affected by flood with 4.8 million affected per year, which would rise to 19 million a year by 2030. India has 14.3 billion exposure to riverine flooding, which would increase to about $154 billion by 2030. This report mentioned that reducing flood risk in fast expanding urban areas is pivotal to address the issue. Now, let us discuss about the urban flood risk management, which is a very important theme while dealing with the urban flooding. Urban areas have been affected by flood from time immemorial. Kolkata flood of 1737, 1864, Pune flood of 1961, Delhi flood of 1978 indicates the flood vulnerability of urban areas. But the traditional flood management processes in India have focused primarily on the management of floods, which affect vast stretches of land, mostly in the rural setting. Urban flooding became a matter of concern only after the Mumbai floods in 2005. The difference in the character of urban floods due to the evolving nature of urban areas was acknowledged after the Mumbai flood. National Disaster Management Authority issued a guidelines after the great deluge of Mumbai flood for the management of urban flooding in 2010, which ushered an era of change in the way urban floods are managed in our country. While dealing with the processes, urban areas are administered by a conglomeration of public welfare departments. To manage urban flood, all these bodies require functioning together as a single unit. It requires a multidisciplinary, holistic approach. The process and activities of urban flood management spreading across various aspects of disaster management are as follows. Number one is the institutional and legislative framework. There is no single unified guidebook on urban flood management at the global and at the national level at present. Different agencies have come up with their own set of guidelines and handbooks depending on the need and scenario. National Disaster Management Authority issued Urban Flood Management Guidelines in 2010, which calls for proactive, participatory, well-structured, fall-safe, multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral approach at various levels. The Ministry of Urban Development has been declared as the nodal ministry for dealing with urban flooding in our country. This document calls for the development of urban flooding cell in the Ministry of Urban Development, as well as state nodal departments and urban local bodies. Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewable Mission Urban Infrastructure Development Scheme for Small and Medium Towns, Northeastern Regional Urban Development Program, National Urban Information System, Municipal Solid Waste Management Agencies, etc. have been entrusted to help the Ministry of Urban Development in developing structures and capacities to address urban flooding in our country. Ministry of Environment and Forest may support Ministry of Urban Development in combating urban floods through the implementation of environmental and forestry programs through the following Municipal Solid Waste Rules 2000, National Lake Conservation Plan, Ministry of Water Resources, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Defense will also be supporting MOUD in urban flood risk management. In addition, organizations like NDMA, NEC, SDMAs, state governments, urban local body, etc. will also be functional. While discussing about the prevention, preparedness and mitigation mechanisms, there are certain areas of interventions that fall under these categories, and the prime is the early warning system. The rainfall forecasts are issued by India Meteorological Department, whereas flood forecast information is generated and issued by the Central Water Commission under the Ministry of Water Resources in India. To accelerate the efforts, different urban local bodies are coming up with their flood early warning systems. There are few important action points suggested in NDMA Urban Flood Management Guidelines for early warning. When we talk about the establishment of technical umbrella for urban flood forecasting and warning both at the national level and the state level, establishing urban flood early warning system, establishment of national hydrometeorological network, India Meteorological Department will develop a protocol for subdivision of urban areas on the basis of watershed and issue rainfall forecast on the watershed basis. IMD will establish a local network cell The establishment of local network of automatic rain gauges for real-time monitoring with a density of 1 in every 4 square kilometer in all 2, 3 to 5 cities and class 3 cities and towns. The strategic expansion of Doppler weather radar network in the country to cover all the urban areas for enhancing local level forecasting capabilities with maximum possible lead time. One of the best examples can be cited about the Surat Climate Change Trust and the Surat Municipal Corporation collaboration. They have partnered to develop flood early warning system for the city of Surat. It creates a model scenario for heavy release of water from the Ukai Dam into the river Tapi and provides 48 to 72 hours time window for preparedness of the city dwellers. When we talk about the mitigation, there are two important types of mitigation measures. One is called structural mitigation and another one is called non-structural mitigation measures. Both needs to be undertaken to address the issues of urban flooding in the country. The structural measures include establishment of rainwater harvesting system in the buildings, separate pipelines for different types of wastes, development of channels for excess water outflow, establishment of higher capacity pumping stations, flood proofing structures, etc. The non-structural measures includes provisions of land use and zoning plans, regulations mandating establishment of rainwater harvesting structures and facilities, proper solid waste recycling and disposal mechanism, better maintenance of drainage networks, channels and pipelines, etc. It also includes risk identification and assessment. There are certain points of mitigation suggested in the action plan of NDMA Urban Flood Management Guidelines. Catchment will be the basis for design of a stormwater drainage system. Watershed will be the basis for all urban flood disaster management actions. About 2,325 class 1, 2 and 3 cities and towns to be mapped on the GIS platform. Inventory of the existing stormwater drainage system will be prepared on a GIS platform. Contour mapping will be prepared at 0.2 to 0.5 meter contour interval. Future stormwater drainage systems to be designed with proper runoff coefficient method taking into account the approved land use pattern. In addition, pre-monsoon desilting of drains will be completed before March 31st every year. That has been depicted in the guidelines of NDMA. Every building shall have rainwater harvesting as an integral component of the building utility. Encroachments on drainage and floodplains will be removed by providing alternative accommodation to the poor and marginalized people. That has also been mentioned in the guideline. In addition, better compliance of the techno-legal regime will be ensured, establishing the incident response system for coordinated response actions, the insurance and risk transfer mechanism to be set in place to deal with the emergency situation arising out of the urban flooding. Post-disaster recovery and response dealing with the urban flooding plays also a very important role. During and after the flood, there needs to be a better incident response system followed by a better rehabilitation plan and reconstruction activity. In addition, inter and interdepartmental coordination and a better communication system also plays important role in dealing effectively in the urban flood management. Now, let us conclude the session on urban flooding is that The urban flooding is a very important topic in our country that needs much attention at all levels. There is a need to have a comprehensive, integrated, coordinated effort to deal with the situation with the urban flood risk management and urban flood management approach also. There is also a need to have a well planned structure that must be implemented at the grassroots level and from the top down approach also. The urban flood management also requires to be implemented at the every educational institution so that a culture of prevention, preparedness and mitigation can be initiated at all levels. Thank you very much.